All right. Episode 3 was where I said the cracks started showing. The Boys episode 4 proved the cracks were real. Episode 4 is where I can feel two different versions of the boys fighting inside the same episode. There is still so much of the show I loved here. Sharp satire, human stakes, Hughie and Annie as the heart, Butcher as the angry devil on Hughie's shoulder, Homelander still wearing the all-American hero mask before it fully melts into crazy. But there's also something else creeping in. The version of the boys that starts choosing shock over story. The version that lets characters become punchlines. The version that would rather launch a dolphin through a windshield than stay focused on the wound. So let's get into it. We open with Butcher and Becca, and this is the first time the show really puts a face on Butcher's grief. And listen, Chantel Van Santen is fire. I first saw her on The Flash, and yeah, I understand Butcher's pain. I get it, mate. But the point is not just Butcher had a hot wife. The point is Butcher is not angry because he enjoys being angry. There is love under the brutality. There is grief under the swagger. There is a wound underneath the coat, the accent, and all the creative uses of the word that starts with a C. That is early The Boys at its best. The ugliness has a person attached to it. Then Mother's Milk is on the phone doing his over-the-top kissy kissy husband voice with Monique. And I know it is supposed to be cringe, but it is really cringe. Still, I do not think Family Man Marvin is fake. He seems like a good dad. He seems like he was probably a positive role model at the juvenile detention center. I don't think The Boys is his real self and normal life is the mask. I think The Boys is his relapse. It is the unhealthy coping mechanism he knows will eventually cost him everything, but it feels too good in the moment to stop. That is a strong character arc. And then Frenchie immediately says something insane, and MM has to react, so I can actually understand what Frenchie just said, which is also useful, because I never know what Frenchie is saying otherwise. Then Frenchie calls Hughie, Petite Hughie, and Hughie saying, please stop calling me that, I'm 6'3", genuinely made me laugh. Because that nickname made sense in the comics when Hughie was Simon Pegg with a Scottish accent, but Jack Quaid is literally the opposite, so it makes no sense here, and somehow that makes it even funnier. The Kimiko introduction is solid too. Her captor shooting himself rather than facing her instantly tells us she is terrifying, but I still have questions. If she has super strength, how is she trapped in a basement cage? Could she not rip the bars off? Maybe the cage is special. Maybe I missed something. Maybe plot convenience took Compound V and did leg day. I don't know. But this is also where I start feeling the ensemble weight. The pilot was powerful when it was just a grieving normal man and a dangerous lunatic trying to kill gods from the gutter. Then we get Kevin. And somehow, this episode made me feel bad for him. I hate Kevin. Kevin is terrible. But watching the Deep go to counseling because he cannot make friends with the other men in the Seven is almost painfully pathetic. A-Train bullies him, Stillwell does not respect him, the team sees him as a joke, he calls himself basically the diversity hire as the weird talks to fish guy. He cannot talk about anything except dolphin hunting and salmon. And that is interesting. Not because it excuses him, it does not, but because early The Boys still knew how to find the sad little man underneath the superhero branding. Kevin is pathetic, entitled, lonely, insecure, desperate to be liked, completely unable to understand why nobody likes him. That is a character, a disgusting character, but still a character. Then Butcher tells Hughie to go on a date with Starlight and bug her phone, and this is one of the strongest tensions in the episode. Hughie knows Annie is not bad. Butcher does not care. To Butcher, all soups are bad. And if Hughie starts seeing Annie as a person, Butcher's entire worldview becomes harder to maintain. That is great, because Hughie and Annie are still the humanity of the show. Their date is adorable. Annie is sweet, awkward, a little tomboyish, a little southern, and so much softer than the hard, miserable version she starts becoming later on in the series. Also, she literally says her first kiss was when she was 18 years old. And I felt like the teacher in The Incredibles catching Dash putting the thumbtack on his chair. Because that does not sound like the girl later seasons want me to believe was spreading STD rumors at soup pageants about Firecracker, or secretly living some wild mean girl life before the 7. The Annie of season 1 is not perfect, but she is sincere. That is why she works. And Hughie telling her he is not threatened by her being stronger than him is just funny now. Because isn't that basically his entire arc in season 3? Was he lying here? Did the writers forget? Did everyone black out and wake up 3 seasons later playing different characters? I don't know. But here, they work. Which makes him bugging her phone feel worse. Part of me just wants to scream, "Mate, take your beautiful, amazing super girlfriend and run. Let Butcher deal with the 7. Get out before the writers destroy both of your characters." Then we get Stillwell sending Homelander and Maeve after the hijacked plane because the military bill needs a heroic marketing moment. And that is genuinely evil. A human tragedy is just brand strategy to her. That is the satire this show used to nail. Not just gross, not just loud, specific, corporate, believable. The plane scene still works too. Maeve wants to save people. She wants to save the little girl. Homelander immediately calculates the optics, and suddenly, the hero mask slips. You can see the monster underneath the American flag. The Believe Expo commercial works for the same reason. Ezekiel is like, "We're gonna have food, your favorite bands are gonna be there, Homelander, and, oh yeah, Christ." That joke is perfect because it is not random, it is a real observation. Christ is basically the footnote at the Christian superhero branding convention. That is the boys being sharp. Then we get the dolphin scene, and this is where the episode loses me. The Deep stealing a dolphin from Oceanland could have been a sad, pathetic little character story about Kevin trying to prove he is useful to someone, even if that someone is a dolphin, and failing because he is still Kevin. But then the dolphin confesses its love to him and flies through the windshield. And yes, I laughed a little. I'm not above it. But this is exactly the kind of thing that eventually starts eating the show alive. The story pauses so the writers can do the outrageous gag. The emotional thread gets sacrificed for the bit. Not enough to ruin the episode, but enough to make me nervous. The A-Train and Kimiko subway moment works better because it actually moves the compound V-plot forward. Him snatching her away is a strong surprise, and Kimiko attacking him makes sense emotionally. Could he probably have been miles away before she even moved to attack him? Yes. Could he probably have blocked her with super speed and fast reflexes? Also yes. But I won't nitpick it too hard because the moment serves the story. Then Homelander gives his Bush-style 9/11 speech, and it works. It is a little less sweet all-American hero and a little more obvious maniac, but after a plane crash, I understand why the rallying cry lands. So overall, Episode 4 is not terrible. It still has Butcher's wound, MM's relapse, Hughie and Annie's sweetness, Stillwell turning tragedy into marketing, Homelander using disaster as propaganda, and Kevin being pathetic in a way that almost feels human. That is the good show. But it also has the dolphin gag, the logic shortcuts, and the growing sickening feeling that shock value might start winning over clean storytelling. So I'd give it maybe a 6.5 or a 7. Episode 4 did not break the boys. I actually think it was still better than Episode 3, but it taught the boys exactly how to break itself.